Well, let's take a look now at the telephoto lens to amplify less into more. Telephoto lenses are high magnification devices. These are for when you're photographing something from far away, either because you want to flatten the perspective or because you're unable to approach your subject. So let's have a look at the basics of lens selection and the driving factors for this important and potentially really expensive investment. The camera type. What brand of camera you have does determine lens compatibility. Not all brands are interchangeable. Camera lenses now must talk to the camera. This is how aperture settings get automatically changed by the camera's input. Due to that, your camera and your lens have to speak the same language. Now, how about the lens mount? The lens mount is the way the lens fits on the camera body. Manufacturers have their own specific design so that you must buy lenses specific to that camera and that manufacturer. There are third-party lens makers, but when selecting one of their lenses, you must select the lens type that your camera brand is compatible with. Right lenses for the right job. Knowing what you intend to use the lens to capture helps you narrow the decision of the type of lens you purchase. You must know the focal length of the types of pictures you wish to take, as well as the maximum aperture. A normal lens is akin to what the human eye sees, as we've mentioned, usually a 50mm lens that comes standard with a 35mm camera. A zoom lens or telephoto lens lets us see beyond the human eye. We can see much further with a telephoto lens than we can normally. It enhances and expands our view. The larger the lens number in millimeters, the greater the distance the lens can shoot. Telephoto lenses are not only key for using when difficult to get near the subject, but also come in handy when wanting to take a photo of a room without extraneous clutter to the sides of the shot. It does not matter if you're looking for the best Nikon telephoto lens or telephoto lenses for Canon Rebel cameras. Even if you want to find the right Sigma camera lens that are compatible with your Olympus DSLR, selection is all based on personal choice of digital lens length and understanding telephoto lenses. Lenses come in all shapes and sizes for all types of digital SLR cameras. Stabilize your camera. Telephoto lenses add weight and throw your camera off balance. Acquire a sturdy ball head tripod if you can. Alternatively, use a regular tripod and brace it with sandbags. Use pressure from your hand, either up or down, on the lens when shooting to reduce camera shake. Focus through the viewfinder at the same time to make sure your composition is accurate. Pressure, especially during windy conditions, may save the shot. Stop down your aperture, 1 or 2 stops, to bring more of your subject into focus. If you're shooting distant wildlife, a wide open aperture will allow you to focus on one part of the animal's body, but may blur out the rest or any other parts of the animal's body that are nearby. Sight directly above your lens to find your subject. With long telephoto lenses, it can be difficult to locate your subject when searching through the viewfinder. Learn to sight directly above your lens while turning it to face your subject. When you're in line, look through the viewfinder to compose and focus the shot. Capture moving subjects by focusing on the very edge of the subject and panning when the subject moves. This is a good technique for capturing birds in flight, and focus before they take off and pan, releasing the shutter when they are in focus. Shoot through a vehicle window to shade your lens from direct sunlight. With a telephoto lens, you can set up on one side of your vehicle, allow the lens to extend into the automobile, and focus on the subject outside the opposite window. The vehicle acts as a telephoto lens shade, allowing you to get the shot while avoiding streaks of light. When you think about landscape photography, you might immediately think of the wide-angle lens. While this is a great capturing device for expansive landscapes and taking it all in, it's not necessarily the best type of lens. A telephoto lens zooms in and can actually be helpful when photographing landscapes. To understand why, it's important to know what determines perspective and how perspective can help convey a particular feeling in a photograph. So what determines perspective? Well, as Ansel Adams repeats so often in his wonderful book, The Camera Perspective is a function of camera to subject distance. So, there's a common misconception that perspective is determined by focal length, but in reality, the only thing that determines perspective is where you put the camera. There's at least two rules of perspective that you should be familiar with. 1. The closer you get to the subject, the larger it will be on the image frame. Yeah, I know, that's the obvious one. But 2. As you move in closer to your scene, the closest objects will increase in size faster than the distant objects. And that's not so obvious. Since perspective is determined solely by where you put the camera, you'll sometimes find that the most pleasing perspective is viewed from a great distance. So to fill the frame with this perspective, you'll need to zoom in from whatever the longer focal length. Telephoto lenses are high magnification devices for photos when you are far away needing to flatten the perspective. And you'll sometimes find that the most pleasing perspective is viewed from a great distance, thus the need for a telephoto lens.